Welcome Professor Di Sanchez and the Human Resources Management class from Amberton University. My name is Erica Reber, and today I will be presenting my graduate project titled The Benefits of Organizational Training Programs. Topics I will be discussing during this presentation are as follows: the introduction, including a hypothesis statement, literature review, study limitations and suggestions, methodology, my findings, recommendations for the future, conclusion, and at the end I will include the sources cited. One can argue that human capital is the most valuable asset of a company, as organizations in all sectors rely on motivated and capable employees. Because of this, employee training and development are extremely important when it comes to the success of almost all companies. Ongoing training and development programs help keep employees and organizations current and competitive in changing environments. In the 15th edition of the textbook Human Resource Management, training is defined as the process whereby people acquire capabilities to perform jobs. Training provides employees with specific, identifiable knowledge and skills for the use in their present jobs. Training and development is expensive. In fact, training is often one of an organization's biggest budget line items. Small employers, defined as employers with fewer than 1,000 employees, on average, budget upwards of $290,000 each year on training, while large employers, those with greater than 10,000 employees, budget an average of $13 million per year. We live in a time where business needs change quickly and technology advances even faster. So it is important that employers are on the cutting edge. It is important for companies to invest in training. But because so many resources are pumped into training, it is also important to keep these trainings as effective as possible. This list of different methods of training shows the popularity of each method and also how effective each method is. Each is given a score using a 5-point scale. The list ranks the methods in order from most used to least used, but as you can see, the effectiveness of these does not correspond. I have highlighted a few points to take note of on this graph. First, notice how in-person, instructor-led trainings are used far more often than any other type of training. However, the effectiveness of this type of training does not rank as the highest. In fact, coaching and mentoring was found to be the most effective form of training, but was listed as the 5th most common form used. Another notable finding was that trainings done by the use of games and simulations are almost the least used method of training. However, they rank relatively high on effectiveness. Though training and development costs a great deal of company time and money, they benefit both the company and the employee. Trainings help employees enjoy and succeed in their jobs. It has been shown that companies who invest in training will find, among other things, organizational-wide improvements in turnover rates. And according to a 2015 Society for Human Resource Management, or SHRM, study, turnover of one salaried employee can cost from 6 to 9 months of their annual salary. For an employee making $40,000 per year, that translates to $20,000 to $30,000 just to replace them, and this is a low estimate. Factors that go into these costs include hiring costs, such as advertising and interviewing, onboarding and initial training, lost productivity. It takes new employees 1 to 2 years to reach the productivity of existing employees. Errors associated with new employees, and the inevitable learning curve, including training costs and cultural impacts. These exorbitant costs make keeping high-quality employees happy and successful extremely important. Throughout this research project, I predicted that I would find that companies who invest in the implementation of robust and intensive training programs for their employees will be rewarded with company success and greater employee satisfaction. Because training and development is so important and so costly, there have been many studies on the subject. In the first study, conducted by Geilenstein and Palmer, entitled Increased Employee Confidence, a Benefit of Coaching, they investigated the experiences and views participants had following professional coaching. The study selected participants who had recently participated in workplace coaching and conducted interviews. It was found that coaching increased work-related confidence. In addition, this increased confidence resulted in higher job satisfaction and higher morale. In their study, Geilenstein and Palmer also found that through increased coaching and training, the employees improved confidence, which led to other benefits, including improved job performance and assertiveness. This improved job performance benefits the employee and the employer, as the employee's new confidence increases commitment to the job. This could also be called organizational life, which has been linked to greater satisfaction and positive reviews from managers. In conclusion, increased training, especially training done in the form of personal coaching, leads to increased employee success and organizational commitment. In the second study, done by PricewaterhouseCoopers several years ago, they joined forces with the University of Southern California and the London Business School to conduct the largest and most comprehensive study on the attitudes of millennials. They published this study in 2013. As you may know, millennials are those born between 1980 and 1995. Between 2011 and 2012, the company surveyed 44,000 of their employees all around the world. The study explored the aspirations, work styles, and values of professional service employees in the millennial generation. Interestingly enough, millennials ranked training and development as the #1 most valuable benefit employers can provide. This is an important finding because millennials make up a large number of the workforce, and that number continues to grow. In addition, there are many assumptions and beliefs out there that millennials are less committed to their work than those of older generations. However, this study dispels those myths, as they found that millennials and non-millennials shared similar beliefs about work-life balances. Millennials, however, were just more likely to speak their minds. One important segment of training and development is the relationship between managers and employees and the ways employees are able to cope with the company cultures. In this third study, Marilyn Armour and her colleagues conducted a diversity training study in 2004 that focused on enhancing cultural competence among social work instructors. The relationship studied here can be easily compared to a manager-employee relationship, as the instructors also acted as their supervisor. 11 field instructors were studied, which targeted their behavior in 3 domains: relationship with self, with the person being supervised, and with the agency. Also, the questionnaire was administered at 3 different points: pre-training, post-training, and at 6 months following. It was found in the study that those being supervised had, quote, disturbing experiences when they experienced moments of unacceptable biases and beliefs. The training used increased supervisor skills to help promote awareness of diverse feelings, among other things. And the participants expressed that after the training, they were more knowledgeable and empowered to address diversity. Participants listed facing issues, bringing up cultural differences, reading and continued training, and bringing problems to supervisors and program managers as actions they could realistically take to increase the cultural competence of their agencies. Finally, in the year 2000, Klein and Weaver conducted a study titled "The Effectiveness of an Organizational Level Orientation Training Program in the Socialization of New Hires," in which they explored the new employee orientation programs and organizational socialization. They studied 116 new employees and examined the impact of attending a voluntary new employee orientation training program on organizational socialization by measuring socialization before the training and 1 to 2 months following the orientation. They defined organizational socialization as the process by which employees learn and adapt to new jobs, roles, and culture of the workplace. The results showed that the employees who attended the orientation training were significantly more socialized than those who had not attended. They also found that the attending employees had significantly higher levels of company commitment and involvement. The orientation was also shown to increase employment longevity. These findings are important so companies can invest in proper training and socialization training specifically from the beginning of employment. Klein and Weaver state that during new hire or orientation training is when employees are the most susceptible to the organization's influence. The takeaway from all of these studies is that every type of training is beneficial. Whether it is new employee training, cultural training, or coaching, they are all beneficial for the employee's work performance and overall satisfaction. There are obviously some limitations to these studies, however. In the study conducted by Geilenstein and Palmer, the participants were found from one finance sector organization from the United Kingdom and from one Scandinavian organization in the telecommunications sector. Also, there were very few participants used in the study. Only 9 were interviewed. The findings in this study are not completely accurate over all sectors and over all countries, but should be similar enough to make the information relevant. However, it would be interesting to know whether these findings would be accurate over all sectors, over more than 2 countries, and over all levels of employment and demographics. In the second study, the participants in the PricewaterhouseCoopers study all worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers. However, they included employees from all around the world. Though this is only a study of one organization, it should be relatively accurate among other millennials in the workforce. And while this study shows only the attitudes of millennials, as of 2016 millennials, they became the largest generation in the labor force at 35%, and that number will continue to grow, making millennials a very important generation to focus on. In the third study by Armoire, the subjects studied were not managers and employees, but supervisors and students. This is a limitation because, though it is comparable to the organizational dynamic, it is not a direct comparison. In the study conducted, there was a very small sample size used to draw information from. Only 11 people were studied. Also, these 11 people were part of the social work field, and though inferences can be made among other manager-type positions, it is a very narrow field of study. This study was also conducted in 2004, so the findings are not extremely current. Finally, much of the results from this study were gathered through self-reports. There will always be a difference between self-reports and observed data, and though the reports of how each subject felt were likely fairly accurate in future research, I suggest a similar study be completed using observed interactions rather than a self-report of the success of the cultural interaction. Now, in the fourth study, one major limitation to the Klein and Weaver study was that it collected data on the effectiveness of the organizational level orientation program of only one organization. However, it is also comparable to other large multi-divisional organizations, as the sample of participants included employees from many types of jobs within the organization. Another limitation was that even though it claimed to study organizational trainings, the employees in the study had been employed for 3 to 5 months with the organization. They were relatively new, but not brand new. And finally, this study was conducted in 2000, making the findings not very current. I suggest that all these studies use larger sample sizes of employees to study the effects training has on the employees and companies. In addition, I think it is important that training benefits are studied throughout a large number of organizations and industries. Through past research, it became clear that training is very important. However, I was hoping to further explore the link between robust training programs and the resulting benefits. Specifically, I was interested in whether I would be able to compare the success of companies and employees in a fast-paced and rapidly changing field based on whether they have invested heavily in robust and intensive training and development programs. I chose to focus on internet companies because they require a great deal of innovation and foresight, and because they have the highest turnover rate of any industry at 14.9%. In order to compare the success of the employees in this industry, I attempted to use an empirical analysis of data I collected from as many sources as possible. I made it as qualitative as I could as I looked into the importance of training and development at these companies. I gathered as much information as I could on specific companies and compared that with their company success in the form of yearly revenue and their employee satisfaction. The companies I chose to focus on were Facebook versus MySpace and Google versus AOL. First, in the comparison between Facebook and MySpace, I wanted to compare the success that Facebook has experienced to the failures that MySpace has experienced. In 2006, MySpace was the most visited website in the entire world. In 2008, it had a revenue of $800 million, and at that same time, Facebook only had an annual revenue of $272 million. However, this turned out to be the peak for MySpace, as it rapidly declined after that, and Facebook took over the market by June of 2009. It has been said that part of what contributed to the demise of MySpace was the emphasis it put on making money through a gluttony of advertisements. Instead of focusing on technology and growth, they failed to innovate and they got complacent, and Facebook did the opposite. MySpace focused on money instead of people. On the other hand, Facebook is well known for putting an emphasis on learning and development. In fact, Mike Welsh, learning and development partner and people engineer at Facebook, was quoted as saying, "Facebook's key learning and development objectives are to promote respect and foster a culture of continual learning. In fact, Facebook's learning and development was designed to appeal to its talented millennial workers who want learning and advancement. They offer many avenues for individual learning through on-demand classes, and are known to use learning and development to create a people-first culture that fosters employee engagement and continual learning. Though it is impossible to directly link the focus of people and learning and development that Facebook has with success, it does not come to a surprise that Facebook was given 4.4 out of 5 stars when it comes to employee satisfaction, according to information gathered from Glassdoor.com, and MySpace received only 3.0 stars out of 5. Google is another example of an extremely successful internet company that has dominated the market, arguably because it focuses on people. It has been on the top of the list of Fortune's best companies to work for the past 6 years. Google is known to be a leader in employee engagement. On Glassdoor, Google employees praise things like work-life balance and growth opportunities within the company. One of the ways Google promotes employee engagement is through its encouragement of employee development. One unique way they offer development is through in-person coaching for growth and development. They call this program the Career Guru, and it makes managers and executives available for one-on-one career coaching sessions with employees. Google brought in over $10 million of revenue in 2017. AOL, on the other hand, is a company who failed to adapt, and though was the one-time king of media, has now fallen into oblivion. In 1989, Quantum Computer Services renamed itself America Online, or AOL, and in 1996 the modern internet era began. In 1999, AOL was at the top of their game. However, the beginning of the end occurred in 2001 when AOL and Time Warner merged. It was the biggest merger in history at that time. For the next 10 years, AOL Time Warner went through a series of CEO turnovers, layoffs, and poor investments. Their reign had come to an end, and in the year 2000, AOL was valued at $224 billion, and in 2016, it was purchased for $4.4 billion. Steve Case, the former CEO of AOL, was quoted as saying, "I do think, in retrospect, that we did take our eye off the ball as it relates to the members, because of focusing on monetizing the service and doing advertising and e-commerce deals." Again, AOL took its focus off people and they paid the price. AOL is still around today, but has been acquired by Horizon and combined with Yahoo into a new company called Oath. Oath received 3.2 out of 5 stars for employee satisfaction on Glassdoor.com, while Google received 4.4 stars. Though, through research, I was unable to qualitatively link employee and company success with high investments in training and development due to a lack of qualitative data, it is clear from past research that training makes a big difference in the happiness and success of employees and the ability of companies to adapt to an ever-changing and evolving market. Though there have been many studies on the importance of training, it is very important for this type of research to continue. Because technology evolves and markets change so quickly, so do the needs and the effectiveness of training design. It is important for companies to keep current on the most effective and efficient ways to train employees and know what type of trainings work best so they can implement these and help promote employee and organizational success. Organizations spend over $200 billion every year on training and development for their employees. A lot of resources are put into employee development. However, these resources are not wasted, as well-structured and meaningful employee training programs are strongly correlated with long-term success. Training is an important investment and makes a company, and because a company is only as strong as its employees, it will continue to be important to invest in those employees and keep them learning, advancing, and happy at their work. Let us learn from the success of companies like Facebook and Google and the missteps of companies like MySpace and AOL. This concludes my presentation. Please take a moment to view the next 3 slides as sources used for this project.